That's a brontosaurus, and coming our way.
Ah, who's scared of dinosaurs? Oh, on second thought, maybe I am. Come on!
Later tomorrow afternoon at 5:15, Vision On. And this week's programme takes building as its theme. Programmes for tomorrow afternoon on BBC One.
Now back to today and Blue Peter.
And that underground railway is operating underneath one of Britain's biggest cities. You can find out where the 79-year-old railway system is a bit later on in the programme.
First of all, though, some really marvellous news about our 3Bs appeal.
Yes, you know how we keep on saying that the more 3Bs we collect, the more blind people we can help throughout the country. Well, it really is true.
Yes, because you kept on sending in your buttons, buckles and badges long after we reached our original target, it's meant that not only have we been able to buy buttons and we can look after her and help her through her first year's preliminary training, you've also enabled us to do lots of other things too, which literally cover the country.
Well, we've got a map over here which should show how much help all your extra buckles, badges and buttons can provide.
Yes, well, down there, in fact, is Wokingham, and as you already know, this is where the brand new guide dog training centre is going to be built by converting an old tumble-down house. And this is where the work's already begun, in fact, on site clearance for our Blue Peter block of puppy walking kennels.
Well, that was part of the original target, but since then, your 3Bs have been pouring into the depot at such a rate that you're going to be able to help every single one of the guide dog puppy walking training centres all over Britain.
Yeah, for instance, up here in Scotland, in Forfar, there's a guide dog training centre for 100 dogs, which has been in operation since 1965. And one of their most important buildings is a hospital block where any dog who's off colour or hurts itself can get the best treatment. The special kennels are equipped with all kinds of medicines and surgical instruments. And there are baths too. And with all this on-the-spot facilities, the dogs are cured and back to training in record time. And the trouble, though, at Forfar is that their hospital block just isn't big enough. But thanks to all your 3Bs, there's going to be an extension block built there at Forfar, which will take four sick dogs, too many numbers, 4 sick dogs at a time. And, of course, it won't be wasted when there aren't any patients there because it can be used as a maternity wing for the brood bitches and their litters.
Well, the training centre at Bolton had exactly the same problem. It, too, needed an extension built on to the already existing hospital block. Well, your 3Bs have put an end to that problem once and for all, because Bolton is going to get the same sort of extension as the one at Forfar.
And down in the Midlands here at Lymington, where our old friend Derek Freeman is the puppy walking manager, they've already got a hospital block, but there's something else that's badly needed, and that is an isolation block for dogs who seem to be a little bit off colour, and they're kept in there, actually, while they're being checked to make sure that they're not carrying any infectious diseases, and it's thanks to your 3Bs that they're going to get one.
Well, there's one more training centre. It's down in the West Country. Actually, it's down here at Exeter. And they need something quite unusual to help them with their work. What they need is a completely new drinking water system for the 120 dogs that live there. Well, actually, it isn't a tap. It isn't even a set of taps. It's something I've never heard of before. It's an automatic drinking machine for dogs. And it looks like this.
Actually, it's a special kind of pipe which has, at regular intervals, a sort of teat-like attachment, and when it's touched by the dog, you see, it releases water there. The interesting thing about this is why it's been developed. Because of the world food shortage, more and more pet animals, dogs, cats and so on, are being given this kind of food. It's the dry pellet kind. Now, it does contain all sorts of vitamins and all the correct proteins and so on, but it does take an awful lot of the animal's natural internal moisture. So it's absolutely vital that when they're on that kind of food, dog has ready access at all times, day and night, to a fresh water supply. Well, this, of course, is far better than having bowls in the kennels, because those easily get knocked over and they spill and splash all over the place. With this, the dog can take just as much water as it wants. And, of course, the pups soon get used to sucking from the teats, and we're going to be able to supply one of these in each of the kennels for each dog.
When you look at this map and think of all the buildings that are actually going to spring up all up and down the country, it's thanks entirely to all your hard work collecting 3Bs. And I reckon, in fact, the whole search and all the trouble that you've taken has been very well worthwhile.
It certainly has. And believe it or not, even after all these extra things have been bought and paid for by your 3Bs, there's still more of them at the depot.
Which means that when they're all sorted out, we're going to be able to give even more help than this to blind people all over Britain. Of course, in the meantime, we'll be carrying on with Button's training and doing everything we can to ensure that she qualifies very quickly as a very splendid guide dog. I'm sure she will. Actually, it's 4 weeks since she was last weighed and measured here in the studio, so really it's time we got her record straight.
Well, I've got the book, Pete. Let's have a look. Now then, that was the 6th of January ones. 3rd of February. Now, we've already got her height there, 36.5 centimetres.
6.9.
She's grown, what, 6.9 centimetres?
Yep.
Well, I bet she's going to weigh a lot more
She
as well.
is too, actually. She's very heavy now, so that's the next job, to pop her on the scales. But she's still too young to sit on the scales herself. She'd wander off, so I'm going to have to weigh myself with her. But I did weigh myself just before the programme started at 85.4 kilograms, which is too much.
You've put on weight too.
Yeah, I put my weight on. Combined weight there, 95.6 kilograms, so that's 10.2 kilograms increase.
She's now 10.2 kilograms, is she?
Yep.
Right, kgs.
She's 10.2 kilograms, that's
yeah.
right.
Now, hang on a sec. Well, listen, when we last weighed her, she was 5.1, so she literally has doubled her weight in just under a month.
Very good. I think you're a little fatty. But no.
I think she's making tremendous progress. No more of that rudeness about Buttons. Now, if you're a keen photographer and you're interested in photographs and pictures and things, then you'll probably know that for years and years, ever since photography was invented, people have been keen on a particular sort of photograph. It's one like this. It's the great big group photograph. This is a shot of the massed bands of the Brigade of Guards, looking very much as they do today, although this photo was taken 58 years ago in 1917.
And here's a sort of photo that you would recognise. This is your school group photograph, and I should think a lot of people have got one of these.
Of course, you can't take a long, thin picture like that with an ordinary camera like this one here. You have to use a different camera like this one. Now, this is special because as the picture is taken, the film and the camera move, but even so, you end up with a still photograph.
Well, we're actually going to try a photographic experiment using this camera, as we're going to take a photograph of this long, thin line of chairs. Of course, it's about the same size as a school group photograph would be, so it's far too wide to take it with an ordinary camera.
Getting me to work as well. Well, Pete and I are laying out these chairs like this in a semicircle, and we're laying them out very carefully because the chairs have to be all the same distance from the lens of the camera. And Johnny's over there with the camera.
Yeah, well, this is actually called a circuit camera, but I call it a moving still camera, because it sort of moves and takes still pictures at the same time, because it's clockwork. Now, there's a roll of film here. It's 20 centimetres wide and 2.5 metres in length, so you can take 2 long pictures. If I turn this little key, you'll see that this film will start to move along. There it goes. And there's a slit just at the bottom of here. In fact, goes right through the film. So the image that comes through the lens imprints itself onto that piece of film up there. Now, the reason why the camera isn't moving at the same time as the film is because under here, this little sort of cog under there that's attached to the camera hasn't been mated up yet with the cog ring that goes round the top of the tripod. But now it's together, so if I turn the key again, not only should the film move, but the camera is moving away at the same time. But this particular camera is Well, it was made in America, in fact, and it hasn't been in production for around about 50 years. But you can do all sorts of little tricks with these, which I'll show you in a minute. But first of all, I'll bring in Mr. Frank Cato as an expert on this camera. And, Frank, if you'd like to set it up. And what I'll do, I'll go sit in that end seat there, OK? And when you're ready, give us a shout. Because I really want my picture taken about 2 or 3 times, all by the same piece of film. OK, Frank?
I'm ready, yes.
Yes.
Right.
Tell us when the lens has passed me and then I can move.
Right, it's faster now.
Right.
OK, off you go,
I can
yes.
move. So what I'm going to do, I'm going
Let's
to
run under the lens.
get to
Don't
another
move while it's
position.
pointing at you.
Quick, before the lens... Hey, Shep, you're going to spoil this picture because you're moving. You can see the top of Shep's head. Right, you can see
Right,
all
OK.
of it.
Well,
I can move again now, right? Here we go.
Under the...
Shep, you're going to be a blur. Up here, boy. Up here. Sit. Smile. Watch the pussycat. Don't watch me. Right.
All right, back to it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Frank. I think
Back
Shep
to
would
it.
have been a blur on that one because he kept moving.
Well, unlike sort of modern-day instant cameras where you get to develop a photograph immediately, this film will take quite some time to develop. So to show you exactly what would have happened, well, not exactly because Shep didn't rush around when we did it last time. Here's a photograph we took earlier. Oh, you did get in 3 times, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Starting
Three
at one end.
noses. Looking a bit miserable. Happier in the middle. And there, right at the end, having hysterics, I think.
And no blurry Shep.
Frank, thank you very much indeed for coming along. It was very
Yes, thank you.
interesting,
Yeah, it certainly is, as Johnny says, a very interesting experiment. But I don't think it's a good idea for you to try it when you next have your school photo taken. I think it could cause more than a bit of chaos.
I'm sure it would. And now for that railway that you saw at the beginning of the programme. As we travel around Britain on assignments for Blue Peter, we often go by train. And the other day I came across a very unusual one. It was underground in Scotland's biggest city, Glasgow. In common with most other cities, Glasgow has its share of traffic problems. But believe it or not, 100 years ago, the problems were considerably worse. Horse-drawn buses and carts absolutely packed these streets, and eventually the jams got so large that the city council decided something would have to be done. Eventually, they hit on the idea of building an underground railway system similar to the one that was already being built in London. Thousands of passengers would be carried in comfort and safety away from all the chaos up here. And so in 1891, the excavations were finally started. The railway was eventually opened for business in 1896. St Enoch Station here was one of the first ones to be built, and since those days, it's hardly changed at all. But then, on this railway system, practically nothing has.
For 79 years, Glaswegians have been travelling under their city in the same trains that first ran in 1896. There's been hardly any modernisation, the only real change being the price of a ticket.
15 pence, please.
In 1896, you could travel on the railway for a halfpenny. You don't have to wait long for a train. They come along every 3 minutes, from 6 in the morning to 11:30 at night. Each train has only 2 coaches, and from the platform you could almost look down onto them.
One of the first things you notice about these trains is that they're rather small. You probably noticed that I had to duck my head when I got on board just now. The 2 carriages are supposed to hold 84 passengers sitting and standing. But as you'd expect, in the rush hour, people cram into them just like sardines. The track itself is a continuous loop. You can see it best from the map here. The trains go round this track in each direction. So it doesn't matter where you board the train or which direction you're going in. Sooner or later, you must come to your destination. The actual length of the loop is 6.5 miles, and to go right round it once completely only takes 28 minutes.
I was going to travel round the complete circuit, through all the 15 stations. And for some of the ride, I'd been told I could nip up to the front and have a word with driver Malcolm McGregor.
Malcolm, hello.
Hello, Peter.
Oh, it's round and round the circle, really, isn't it? How many times a day do you go round?
Well, approximately 15. 7 times the first part, then we have a break of 3/4 of an hour, and then we do the other 8 journeys.
What actually powers the trains?
Well, this is run by electricity. You have 4 motors,
Yes.
and you have the live rail that you see on the left-hand side. That's 660 volts approximately. And up above that you have the T-irons, which, because there's the lights here, that's 260 volts for the T-irons.
That's these two little
These
wires
two
which
that
are
you see,
running
yes,
along the
just up
side
above
there.
the top there.
And that's doing all the interior lights, all the
interior
colour
lights, yes.
Are there any particular problems with driving around this circuit?
Well, you have the problems, of course, with tight bends.
Malcolm told me we'd just reached the biggest problem on the track, the Cowcaddens Bend. He opened his door so I could look outside. There was just a 1-inch gap between the carriages and the tunnel wall. The bend goes round 76 degrees, and Malcolm and his driver colleagues have to take the trains round it with extreme care.
Thanks very much.
As every driver does 15 trips a day round the circuit, he can carry on quite a long conversation with the other staff on the platforms, so long as he doesn't mind each section of the chat lasting only about a minute. The trains carry their own conductors. At each stop, they're the first off the train, and as you leave, you hand your ticket to them. Their uniforms, like the carriages, haven't changed for over 70 years. On the sleeves is some black braid, which shows they're still mourning the death of someone who died 74 years ago, Queen Victoria.
Actually, looking as we've gone round the circuit here, I haven't seen any points or sidings or anything like that. Are there any?
Yes, between Copeland Wood and Govan Cross is where they lift the trains. Any trains that breaks down is lifted up.
So they can't just run them off the track?
No, unfortunately, no.
What do they do then? They actually lift them straight off the track, just like on the model railway?
Yes, suppose now I break down here at Kelvin Bridge.
Yes.
The train behind comes, couples up, and he gives me propels me all the way to the car shed between Copeland Wood and Govan Cross. And they lift the car up. It takes approximately 6 minutes.
Fantastic.
The idea of just lifting the trains off the track was so intriguing, I went along to the car sheds at Govan to see exactly how it was done. This train was needed in the repair sheds, which are 20 feet above the track. And by hooking the train onto a crane and giving a signal to the crane driver, it's simplicity itself to lift these 20-ton cars up to the workshops above. The unofficial record for getting a train off the track and replacing it with a new one is a remarkable 4 minutes.
All of the carriages in here have come for some kind of repair. The extraordinary thing being, though, that most of the spare parts come from old tramcars, because all of the rolling stock on the Glasgow Underground system is as old as the system itself. That means it's all more than 70 years old. I think it's a great tribute to the skill of the drivers, the staff and the engineers that they've managed to keep it all going for so long. But now the long-awaited modernisation of the system has started. New repair shops and sidings will be built, so there'll be no more lifting the carriages off the lines. There'll be interchanges with the surface railways, brand new station buildings, and of course, best of all, new trains. The old rolling stock, well, that will end up in various transport museums, but until then, it'll carry on trundling round these tracks at 1 every 3 minutes.
I like the old-fashioned ways myself. I'm sure if they modernise it, it'll never work again.
I think I agree with you. Actually, talking about Scotland, if you were watching the programme on Thursday, you may remember that I said that last weekend Jason was going to pay a visit to Scotland himself. He did. He went to Glasgow, where he was guest of honour at the Scottish Cat Club Championship show. And look what he came back with, a really smashing tartan rosette with his name in the middle and complete with streamers.
That's a bit like a sporran, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Sporran.
Now then, you may remember that on Thursday I said I'd been meeting another John. Today he's the new European men's silver medalist skating champion, John Curry, and here's part of his silver medal winning performance. John, many congratulations, and also many thanks for dropping in to see us, because you've just come back from Denmark. In fact, you arrived at London Airport this afternoon, didn't you?
That's right, yeah.
How do you feel?
Well, I've got a cold, but I'm fine.
Yeah, just a bit rushed at the moment.
Yeah.
You've got your silver medal with you, if we can have a quick look. A bit of Latin, I think, on the back.
Yes, I think it means he who deserves it gets it, basically.
Oh, well, you certainly deserved it. And on the other side it says European Championship Figure Skating, Copenhagen, 1975. John, what did you think of your chances over there, especially with the Russian skaters?
Well, I knew that I'd have to do very well in the school figures to have a chance, but I thought I'd be around, well, in the first three.
Were you nervous before it all happened?
Not this time, actually. Usually I am pretty nervous, but this time I wasn't.
When did you first start skating?
Well, I saw a pantomime on the television when I was 7 years old, and I was very impressed and decided right there and then that I wanted to be a skater.
Have you ever done pantomime skating?
No, not yet, because I'm an amateur, you see. We're not allowed.
Oh, I see. What about awards? When did you pick up an award?
Oh, around 7 3/4 I started.
Quite early, so you should have a house full, really, by
Yes,
now.
I've got a lot by now.
Well, what about ambition in skating?
Well, ultimately, I hope to perform a sort of theatre of skating, to present skating as a performing art.
That's interesting. Is there anything like that now?
No, it's never been done until now, but I hope that it shall come.
Yeah. Well, as well as being judged on your skating technique, you're also judged on your artistic interpretation. And you seem very pleased with the marks that you got. In fact, we can watch this again now. If we watch on that television,
and now
you see how you reacted.
The French judge has given a 6, and that man is happy. He knows his artistry is superb.
You got a lovely 6. Full marks there. And personally, if I'd been a judge, you'd have got the gold medal.
Well, thank you. Come and be a judge next time.
John, thank you very much indeed. Many congratulations. What's next on the agenda?
I'm off to Colorado tomorrow to get ready for World Championships.
Oh, best of luck in there.
Thank
and
you.
really, it's also congratulations too to Glyn Watts and Hilary Green, who won Britain's second silver medal in the Ice Dance Championships. And considering that Glyn was ill with lung congestion, it's amazing he managed to skate at all, let alone bring home another silver medal for Britain. And now, if you want to know the time, don't ask a policeman, ask Leslie.
And at the third chunk, it will be precisely 6 minutes past 5. Seriously, though, that very soft tick is coming from an extraordinary clock. I've never seen anything like it before in my life. It's very large. It stands 3 metres tall, and the really incredible thing about this clock is that it is made entirely out of wood. Now, it's a very accurate timekeeper, and that's made doubly incredible by the fact there's not a nail, not a screw, not a bolt. There's no metal in this clock at all. All its joints are either pegged together or glued together, like the joints here on the main frame. And this main frame is made out of very sturdy walnut wood. Well, apart from the walnut, there's lots of other woods on it too. For instance, down here on the tip of the hand, this is sycamore. It's been beautifully put in there like that. In fact, the hand is enormous. It's 1 metre long, so if you stand back from the clock a bit, you can actually see the hands moving around the face of the dial as the time ticks slowly onwards. Well, this clock is all the work of one man. He's Mr. Ron Woodford, who comes from Earl Shilton in Leicestershire. Well, Mr. Woodford is a professional cabinet maker, and he's always been interested in clocks. He made this one purely as an experiment, and I think he must be absolutely delighted with the way it's turned out, especially because he didn't use any very complicated machinery to make this. Most of it was made with just ordinary hand tools. Mind you, it took him a lot of time to make it. It took him 500 hours in all, a lot of work. But that's not surprising. If you take a closer look, have a look at some of these spoked cogwheels. Incredible detail there. It's difficult enough to carve a wheel with a smoothed rim, but in fact, all the cogs in all these wheels here amount to an incredible 492 separate teeth. An absolutely vast amount. The hands here, the great big hands, are made from a wood called Afromosia wood. It's a particularly hard wood. It's very hard wearing, lasts a good long time. The only problem with it is it's very hard to work as well. You probably have spotted, actually, that I've mentioned several different woods already. In fact, there are 13 different woods in this clock, and they've all been beautifully interwoven. I think that the result is absolutely superb. Well, as I said, Mr. Woodford made this clock just really to see if it would work. It certainly does work, and his experiment really has paid off, because he's already had several inquiries, export inquiries, see if he could make half-size replicas of it, and he's at this moment about to start building another one, and it's going to be half as big again.
I wonder if he's going to chime.
No, I think it'll just clunk.
Oh, clunk. Nice. Well, we'll be back again on Thursday, and we'll be having the Grimethorpe Colliery Band, you're down there, sorry, with us.
Also, I'll be introducing a rather unusual personality parade.
We'll see you on Thursday. Bye-bye.
In just under 10 minutes, part 5 of the serial for older children, The Changes. First, John Craven's Newsround.
Strict new controls to protect animals which travel by air. Hello again. New regulations have just come into force to protect all animals being sent from country to country in airliners. In Britain, there have been laws against cruelty to animals in transit for many years, but they've been hard to enforce because there was no international agreement. Now, all the world's airlines have decided to bring in a new charter for their animal passengers. To investigate the need for such a law, Rhys Jones has been to the animal hospital at Britain's most important airport, Heathrow.
The RSPCA have been campaigning for more than 20 years to introduce regulations which will protect animals on aeroplanes. Well, at last, the international airlines have introduced these regulations, which they hope will reduce cruelty in the air.
Almost 1 million animals stayed at the RSPCA hostel at Heathrow last year. Some were dead on arrival, and many were in awful condition because they travelled in the wrong containers. These monkeys arrived from Bangladesh on their way to New York at the weekend. 50 of them travelled in 5 packing cases for 36 hours. The RSPCA say that this type of container hasn't changed for 20 years, and they hope that the new legislation means they'll never see animals treated like this again. The new rules set out what type of packaging must be provided for every type of animal, even for these dolphins. Airlines must not accept anything below standard, and if they break the rules, they can be heavily fined. Now that the airlines are cooperating, I asked hostel manager Neville Whittaker what he would like to see next.
In this country, we have the Transit of Animals Act, which is an offence to land an animal wrongly created and wrongly boxed, and I would like to see it in every country in the world.
The month-long siege of a monastery by 45 American Indians has ended in victory. The abandoned monastery will be handed over to members of the Menominee tribe to be made into an Indian health centre or a school. Drum-beating ceremonies were held over the weekend to show support for the Indians inside the monastery. Among the supporters was film star Marlon Brando, a campaigner for Indian causes. He arrived on Friday to act as a negotiator between the authorities and the Indians. and by the end of the weekend the Indians had called off their siege and the owners of the monastery had agreed to give it to the Menominee tribe. But the local white people weren't very happy about the agreement. They felt the Indians had been treated too kindly. Lighthouse keeper Andy Blewer is on his way home today to eat his Christmas dinner and open his presents. The 3 keepers on the Bishop Rock Lighthouse on the Isles of Scilly have been stranded because of bad weather. But today, a relief launch managed to pick them up. And tonight, they'll have the turkey dinner, which has been waiting for them since December the 25th last year. Back in the news today, the 2 Russian cosmonauts in Russia's Salyut 4 space station. This afternoon, they broke Russia's previous record of 23 days, 17 hours in space. Here's Reg Turnell.
A very happy flight so far for Alexei Gubarev and Georgy Greco. It began with a laugh. After docking Soyuz 17 with Salyut, they found that Russian engineers had left a notice just inside the space station door saying, "Wipe your feet." Very different from 4 years ago. Then, after nearly 24 hours in orbit, the Soyuz 11 crew was killed on the way home. The commander, Colonel Gubarev, and flight engineer Greco, both aged 43, spent 12 years preparing for this flight. They prefer to be left alone to get on with their work, which is one reason we've heard so little about them since the launch on January the 11th.